So you ended up working with Martin Lawrence at one point.
Yeah, maybe 4 years after that. And this is what a lot of people don't, that roast is so powering. People think that was that I did that and then I faded off into the sunset. But I put together this show called The First Amendment. It was the first original program that aired on Starz. They did not have any original programming. So it led the way for power and all of these things. But we did a season of it. It was called The First Amendment. And Martin and I had a mutual friend. And the friend came to the premiere and he said, hey man, I think Martin would be interested in it. So I went to Martin's office, took the first season that was on a DVD, told him about it. We actually did a conference call because he was in Virginia. And he said that he wanted to come aboard. So I went back to Starz and I said, hey, I got Martin. And it turned into Martin Lawrence Presents the First Amendment stand-up, and it ran 5 years on Starz, first original program.
Yeah, and Martin is one of the greats, one of the absolute greats. I remember when I interviewed Russell Simmons and we talked about the strength of Def Comedy Jam, and he flat out said the main key to the success of that show was the host. And
Absolutely.
Martin Lawrence was the host of that show.
Absolutely.
And you could go back and watch. That was the star of the show.
Absolutely, iconic.
All the comedians, the Chris Tuckers and the Dave Chappelles and everyone else that was coming up was dope. But really, Martin held all that together with his hosting duties. And Martin is amazing. We just interviewed Kid from Kid and Play, and he was just talking about, he actually did the Martin theme song. And you ended up doing the Martin theme song, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, along with a gentleman by the name of Stephen Kitt. Yeah, because, at the time, this is when Martin and I were like super, super tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember him, he did the pilot, did the pilot for Fox. And I remember I wasn't living out here in LA yet, but I was out here at the, it's the London now, it used to be called the Bellage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm staying at the Bellage, so he comes by with another friend, Bentley Evans, to show me the pilot of Martin. And he puts it in, throws it in, he's in my suite, we watch it. I'm like, yo, this shit is dope. You know what I'm saying? It's funny, it's this and that. And Martin's like, yo, man, you need to be on the show. Be on the show with me, man. Come on, be a guest star on the show. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Then we're in the room, and it's me, Martin, and Bentley Evans, and we just start thinking about what could it be? And we're thinking out loud, and I'm like, well, if I'm on and I'm being myself, why don't we have some way we gotta have Kid and that Shanae character, that girl character, have them hook up. Maybe they go on a date or something like. So we start putting together. He's like, all right, well, what if she go on a radio station and she wins a date and da 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 da. So we just started putting it together. So then he and I were up. We're actually in my room. We're kind of holding each other like we're dancing. And I remember going through my mind at that time. Forever My Lady was super super hot record. So my mind as a rapper, you always think of Forever My Lady. Forever Shanae, you know what I mean? My mind works like that to, how can you make it rhyme and make it, it's the same mind that gives you Ola, roll with Kid and Play. So I'm like forever my lady, no, call it Forever Shanae. And then this and that. And then my man, Bentley Evans, he had never written nothing before in his life. Not like that, like a sitcom script. And he's in the corner, scribbling it down, getting notes, this and that. 2 weeks later, I get a script at my crib in Jersey. It says Forever Shanae, and came out a few weeks later to do it, and it became one of the most classic episodes in the history of Martin. And
he came on the show. We had him on the First Amendment.
Uh-huh.
And I remember him being so nervous backstage because Martin was out there, and we taped that in DC, and we had some brutal, honest crowds. If you weren't funny, they would boo you off. It was almost like maybe a step above the Apollo, Showtime at the Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Christopher Reeve backstage. I remember talking to him, telling him, calm down, man, everything's gonna be okay. And he went out and he had a good set, but he was on the show.
Do you still stay in contact with Martin?
You know what? It's funny. I wasn't really in contact with Martin when we were doing the show. He's a different person off stage than he is on stage. And that's true of all of us. You see a personality on stage and we feel like we know people after we watch them in sitcoms and we see them so much in the public eye. But, people are different off stage.
Yeah, and it's not quite the same Martin anymore. Like if you watch Bad Boys 2, he's kind of off a step.
I think after he had those strokes,
I think that's what happened.
I mean, because even in working with him, I worked with him for 4 years on that show, Martin Lawrence Presents Freedom. He wasn't in my humble opinion, he wasn't the same person, Yeah. And I kind of chalked it up to, maybe it's just because he has a different business persona.
If you watch Bad Boys 2, he's just not. He's a little bit slower in terms of his delivery. And not a lot, but just compare that to.
He's definitely a different Martin.
It's definitely a different Martin. It hurt to watch that movie. I was just like, oh man, like because I'm a fan as well. So I watched this going like, oh man. It almost seemed like he probably should have done that movie. In my opinion, like someone should have stepped in and said, let's just leave Bad Boys alone for now.
But have you, one thing that I haven't been able to do, have you seen his stand? Because he at least before this COVID hit, he was touring, he was hosting. And he was out with a bunch of comedians. So it'd be interesting. I haven't seen his stand-up, but it'd be interesting because stand-up, you have to have a certain timing, a certain move. So it'd be interesting to see your comparison of his stand-up and still make that assessment.
Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I am. Gained a few pounds too recently. Have you seen the new and improved?
That's Martin?
That's Martin.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's not the girl, by the way. I know Martin sometimes cross-dresses and, Big Mama's house and everything. So yeah, he's the one in the middle.
Yeah, I guess you're right. He has picked up some weight.
Looks like about 100 pounds heavier.
Jeez.
Because Martin was skinny.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while.
Beautiful family, by the way.
Oh, very beautiful family.
Very beautiful family.
I spoke to his brother about his brother and I were, Robert Lawrence, were at an event, actually at Joe Torre's birthday party about a few weeks ago. And I asked about him. He said he was doing well. So